We have another incredible guest with us today on the clock. Head coach Jason Kelly at the University of Washington. I was pitching coach at LSU, Arizona State, also at UW, where he's now head coach. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you on. Your journey's been incredible. But just the first question we asked, just for the viewers, give a little background on yourself, how you got to where you are, some of your coaching philosophies and things like that.
Yeah, it's been like most coaches in this game that are my age, kind of in their mid 40s. It's been an interesting journey. It's been
Yeah.
kind of started from the beginning. Obviously, wasn't a good enough player to really play at an incredibly high level. So I got into coaching relatively young. Some good advice from my family. My family is in the pro ranks for the most part. My dad was a player. My uncles managed in the minor leagues for since 1985 or something like that. My brother is the big league hitting coach for the Cubs. So we've kind of all been in professional baseball, and I was 21 and got hurt, blew my elbow out, and was forced with Tommy John, and wasn't going to be. And my dad said, "Hey, I think coaching's your thing. Not that you're not a good player, but you're an 85 mile an hour left-hander who the future isn't quite as bright. I think you should get involved in this." And I got involved at the volunteer level, and volunteered at Cuesta College, at the junior college in San Luis Obispo, and then ultimately got to volunteer for Larry Lee at Cal Poly, and work with him and Jerry Weinstein, and cut my teeth in some of the real specific coaching things. And then got a Division II opportunity with Lindsey Meggs at Chico State, and did that, and had a great time doing that at that level. Loved it, and was happy. And then Jerry Weinstein takes a pro job with the Rockies, and Larry Lee hired me as the pitching coach. I think I was 24 years old at that time, had no idea what I was doing, but was a problem solver, and was going to figure it out. And luckily, he gave me some leeway to work, and I owe him everything for doing that. Most older coaches would take the reins on that, and not let the young guy do a lot. He let me make a ton of mistakes, and worked with me. And I spent a couple of years there, and then ended up coming back up here with Coach Meggs in 2013, and spent a couple of years here and had a good run. And then Arizona State and COVID and the world changed, and you guys all know how that went. And then got
Yeah.
lucky to get a chance to coach with Jay Johnson at LSU, somebody who I'd always wanted to be around and coach with. Just coaching against him, those teams offensively especially were just such a problem, that I wanted to be part of something like that, and got a chance to do that. And then got lucky, and got an opportunity to get this job, got an opportunity to come home, and come back to the University of Washington, which is a place that I raised my kids here. We moved from California when they were 3 and 4, and left when they were 12 and 13. So a really cool thing for me to be able to come back and work at such an obviously great institution, but also get back involved with some of the alumni and some of the players that I got a chance to coach, and just really lucky to have this opportunity. And the philosophy part of it is, it's we want to enjoy ourselves. I mean, that's something that I think is a little bit not different, but something that we pride ourselves on is we play really hard, and we have a fun time doing it. And I've got great coaches that have been at all levels of baseball. We've got Jason Ellison, who played in the big leagues. We've got Jake Silverman, who's been a recruiting coordinator for a long time, and Mike Ganji was a cross checker. So we've got a lot of different voices in our clubhouse. Guys that have been in college baseball their entire career, guys that have been in professional baseball their entire career. So a really well-rounded group that we really enjoy being around, and I think our players enjoy that too. And as you guys know, if you can come to the yard every day excited to be here, and excited to work, then it makes some of the difficult things just so much easier to do. And our guys have shown that they're willing to work, and the philosophy is to really recruit well and then develop. And those are the two things that we're going to try and hang our hat on here, hopefully for a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think it's really interesting that you talked about kind of your journey too, because every coach's journey is kind of different getting to the top, right? And the one thing that you had a lot of success in the first year, you guys went 35-20, got a regional bid. Talk a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about that, what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, it was. I walked into a really good team. That's something that is very evident. When you come into a situation of a coach retiring, which Coach Meigs did, you're not walking into something that needs to be fixed, necessarily. You're walking into maybe something that needs to be tinkered with, as all things do, but not something that we felt like we had to come in and blow up the roster and start over The moment I said, actually before I said yes to this job, I'd obviously had done enough research to know that they had a good roster, and I was involved in recruiting some of these kids also before I left. So it was a unique situation of just coming in and going, okay, how can we coach this team with these players to the best of their ability? And we kind of opened things up a little bit. We allowed them to have a little bit more freedom. We opened the offense up a little bit compared to the way coach liked to do it. And the team benefited from that. And we had a little bit of power. So we let them swing and we hit some homers, and that was a good thing. So it was a really great group that had a ton of energy, that was looking for not new leadership by any means, but just maybe a little bit of energy that we provided. And the hard part, as you guys know and coaches know, is continuing that energy. Year one's always awesome and it's shiny and it's bright and everybody's excited. We're doing different things. The players are motivated. How can you keep that momentum? How can you keep that energy going into year 2, 3, 4, and 5? And we're working on that now as we speak, and have had some success with it so far. But last year's group was awesome, man. They really loved to play. They really loved to compete. We fell short of the goal, obviously, of winning a national championship, but the journey was unbelievable. There's not a group that I would have rather had year one on to work with than that group. They took a lot of pressure off of me. They were mature. They handled business, so I didn't have to come in and really dominate them. I gave them a ton of freedom, and they responded really great. So it was a great year. My most rewarding year as a coach, of just being able to sit back and watch those guys play and take their games into their own hands. It was really fun to watch.
I love it. Tyler, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that team from last year too, because Cam Clayton obviously back this year. He had Kiefer Lord and Stu Flesland, I think was the last name.
Yep.
Those are guys that stick out in my mind that really stood out. So kind of just talk about those guys a little bit if you can.
Yeah, we had a lot of guys that really stuck out. Obviously, those guys being kind of on the draft radar, are who teams go to and who people think of. Cam had a great year for us. He was a draft eligible sophomore, hit over 300 and was one of the best players in the conference. Had opportunities to sign, and decided with his family that he wanted to come back a year and get better and help maybe take this program back to Omaha. So we are incredibly lucky that he made that decision, and we feel like it kind of shows where the program is, that somebody was willing to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to turn down a little bit of money and go back to school, and he's going to make that money back this year. I think he's got a chance to be a top 3 round pick this year and be in the running for college player of the year. There's some great players in this conference this year, as there always is, but I think he's going to be right up there at the top. Kiefer Lord was kind of a great story, and you guys know a little bit about that story. A D3 transfer in that nobody knew much about, and his first inter squad here, he hit 99 miles an hour, and everybody's eyes kind of perked up a little bit in the scouting community, and he started off the season really good for us. I mean, was dominant, had some lulls at times, and fought through those things and got better. I think that's one thing. If you talk to Keith about, he may not be exactly happy with the way it ended, but I think he got better and is ready for pro ball, and that's just as much of our job as winning games is preparing these guys for the next level. They all want to play in professional baseball, so for him to get that opportunity to be a 3rd round pick is awesome. I mean, we had some other great guys on the team. Will Simpson was our leader. He was, I think, an 18th round pick with Oakland A's, and went out and had a great first year of professional baseball. Kobe Morales was a leader on our team, who was a Yankees draft pick, who had a really good start to his season, ended up getting cut short with an injury, but was really good. Michael Snyder, who has since moved on to Oklahoma as a grad transfer, was a great piece for us. Johnny Tincher was our catcher and kind of our leader in the regards of playing every day, playing tough, playing dinged up. I mean, he caught 97% of our innings. So we just had older guys that were really looking forward to playing, and they carried us, man. And like I said before, we didn't have to do much as a coaching staff to motivate those guys because we had great leadership in our locker room.
That's perfect. And you mentioned the older kind of like team there. First thing that comes to mind, Campbell last year. That was a team that was really, really talented, and there were a bunch of older guys. Like, trying to think, Jared Belbin was like 23. Drake Pearson was like 24, 25.
Yeah, and we ran into Oral Roberts.
Yeah,
yeah,
an older team that just kicked our teeth in. And as you're going down that roster, they weren't incredibly old, but you're like Senior, especially the guys coming out of the bullpen. They were older guys that had developed, that maybe didn't come in at 97, but are leaving at 97. And you're just like, holy cow, this is a great team. So yeah, those older teams had a ton of success last year.
Oh yeah, and I even keep remembering like Jacob Godwin was NC State grad.
Hmm.
And I say that because I live in North Carolina, but like I remember him playing it for Avon, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's in Omaha with Oral Roberts. I didn't expect that.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the world we live in now.
Yeah.
You forget where guys are at times with the portal, and I guess that's a positive because you saw a kid get a chance to really play and get to Omaha, but it's just odd seeing some guys in different uniforms.
Absolutely. And then of course this year, you talked about the portal and everything. What's the outlook this year with some of the players you have on the roster? Obviously with Cam being back. Who are some other names that we should watch out for?
We're going to be a different team. We're going to be less, not offensive, but we're going to have to offense different. We're going to be kind of more doubles oriented. We're going to have to strike out just a little bit less. Offensively, those leaders are some of the usual suspects. We've got AJ Guerrero back, in left field. He hit third for us the entire year as a freshman All-American, all conference, chance to be a top 5 round draft pick. He'll be our offensive. Him and Cam are kind of two offensive leaders. We've got Sam DiCarlo back, who played second base almost every day for us, hit 270 with 7 or 8 home runs, and was really good. We've got Jeter Ibarra back, who got into the lineup a little bit later, but never came out after that, and was incredible for us for 90% of his at bats. So really, really good. And then we've got some new guys coming in that have a chance to contribute. We've got a kid named Braden Terry from Everett Community College, just a left center fielder that we don't quite know what he's going to be, but we know there's talent. We know that he's going to be probably in the lineup, and we're going to see what he does. The big change in this team, I think, is going to be on the mound. We've really stretched our depth. I don't know that we have a top 3 round pick on the mound, but I think we've got a bunch of kind of 8 to 12s. At some point in their careers, and sometimes that's better than having that first frontline guy. Jared Ingman's back. He had some ups and downs last year, but has retooled himself, changed his body a little bit, retooled the repertoire, got some more velocity, so he's going to be a leader for us. Calvin Kirchhoff was somebody that we wanted in the rotation last year. He had a freak injury at a plate from in the weight room, pinch his finger and just slice it to shreds. So he missed all of January, all of February, and a little bit of March last year. So when he came back, he just wasn't quite there. And then the bullpen's going to be hopefully our strength with Josh Emmanuel's back down there, who's been a star for us, and Riley McAdams. And then we've got some younger guys, Jace Evangelista, that are going to be good. Our depth is going to be better. We're going to have the ability to pitch better now. Whether we do that, we'll have to wait and see. But I like our depth back there. I think we'll be a little bit different team than we were last year.
Awesome. Jared, you got any more questions here?
Yeah, so the one question I was going to have for you as the schedules start to come out, Pac-12 is always stacked, right? Are there some matchups that you're really looking forward to this season?
Oh man, there are so many. Like we have such good kind of individual rivalries with a couple teams, especially in the Northwest. When we get together with Oregon State, it's always great, and Mitch is doing a great job down there, and they've got. I don't know everybody in the country, but they've got to have one of the top 10 offenses in the country, with Bazana back and Guerra back, and they're just going to be really long offensively, so they're obviously going to be a problem. Oregon, Waz has done a great job there. That's always a great battle. We got the best of them last year, in where a weekend we really, really played well. And so they're going to be a battle. The Cougs with Chode over there, they're going to have a new identity with him having his first year, so that's going to be awesome. So the Northwest battles are always awesome. And then the usual suspects get into the pack. When you've got Stanford and Cal's just been a nemesis to me personally for the 10 years that I've been here. Mike does a great job down there, and then the Arizona schools are good, and I think UCLA's kind of turned the corner. They were so young last year. That offense is going to be. I mean, the recruiting class that they brought in is going to be a problem. And then you got Stanford with Malcolm Moore, and you've just got really good top, guys that could be top 10 picks in the draft in our conference. So everybody's a battle with the last year of the pack. I expect it to be a ton of energy. We're going to lose some of these rivalries, unfortunately. So it's going to be a little different feel to it this year. So I expect us, to all want to go out with a bang, and everybody's going to fight hard to win that last Pac-12 championship.
Yeah, I loved how you touch on too, kind of the talent that's up in the Pacific Northwest. I feel like that always gets overlooked because when I did baseball ops at the University of Nevada, we had a ton of guys from the Pacific Northwest
Hmm.
that came down to play, and no one really thinks about it. And I feel like it just gets overlooked all the time.
Yeah, it's the Northwest is an interesting place because, as you guys know, you just can't play year round.
Yeah,
So they tend to be a little bit behind, and that's hard in the recruiting process because our kind of adage in this office is sometimes we're going to recruit players that are a year behind some of the California, Arizona players. It's just they haven't played as much, so you have to have a different view on some of these players. But what you can find up here is you can find a ton of talent and a ton of physicality, which is hard to find. So
yeah.
everybody up here, when you think about and you add in Seattle U and you add in Gonzaga and you add in Portland, we're all fighting for a small number of players. It's you've got really good schools fighting for maybe 100 players, less than 100 players per class. And as you guys know, the SEC is coming up here. There's other schools coming up here because they're starting to recognize the players up here too. So it's become a recruiting. It's become a much bigger battle than it has been in the past because everybody's so good up here. So it makes getting those players, man, it makes it more difficult than people think.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it even comes down to luck too, because I think when we were at Nevada, we had Braden Shipley, who was from the
Yeah,
Pacific Northwest, and like he was a shortstop his first year, and then all of a sudden got on the
exactly.
mound and started bumping 90s, and like a team like Nevada wouldn't expect to get a guy like that
And
for the most
those are
part.
the yeah, those we're recruiting so early now, and they put some limits on us,
Yeah,
obviously, but you're still recruiting. I mean, you're almost done with your class by the time they're juniors. So there's so much development between 17 and 18 years old that we miss, and it's
yeah.
not that we miss because we don't evaluate. It's because kids get better, and that's incredible to see. And you see schools that may not be in the Power Five get great players. I mean, nobody's done it as better than Gonzaga's done it. I mean, they've just done a
Hmm.
great job, and they'll have two or three arms every year that you're like, dang it, like where did that guy come from? And you go back on your notes, and he was 83, 85, and you were like, oh yeah, he's okay, and now he's 90, 93, and you're like, gosh, you guys have done a great job with that guy. So it's nobody's fault, but it's just as you guys know, it's hard to predict, and this place, especially because of the lack of total game time, is there's kids that are going to come out of the woods. The junior college stuff up here is really good too. As you know, in Nevada, a lot of those kids go to those places and are superstars. So there's plenty of players up here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm from the New England area, and UConn every year is good,
Yeah.
and they do a great job recruiting guys, and they find guys local in the area, which isn't easy to do in the New England states because, like you said, just like in the Pacific Northwest, they don't have the opportunity to go out and
Mhm.
play every single day, and they just find ways to recruit guys, tap into their potential, and UConn's just kind of a powerhouse every year.
Yeah, those guys, we had them in that Coastal Carolina regional, and have played them before, but they just do such a good job of developing that
Yeah,
kids that are underdeveloped are willing to take a chance, and say, hey, maybe I'll walk on there because when I look at this track record of them getting guys drafted and getting guys better, that's what
yep.
they do. So many people are chasing the money in this thing that they
Hmm.
don't go to the right place. It's actually going to help them get better. And that's a place where, if you're a local kid, Washington's the same way. Kids want to come here because this is the big university in this city, and it's a huge city. That maybe they'll come here for free and develop. And if we have the reputation of putting guys into professional baseball, then they're willing to bet on you, and we're willing to bet on them. And that's how you get those blue chip guys that you just didn't see coming.
Yeah, I interviewed Ryan O'Hearn once, and he kind of talked about that same thing. He went to Sam Houston State, and he was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Just go where you get an opportunity to play." He goes, "You don't
Yeah.
have to go to the big SEC school, the big ACC school. Go where like a team's going to believe in you, a coaching staff's going to believe in you, and you can get those opportunities to showcase what you can do."
It's the University of Washington is not going to get you drafted. Like it's just because you wear the purple and gold doesn't mean you're going to get a chance. Like that's got to be on you at some point,
Yep.
to make those changes to get better. And you can do that in a Power Five, in a junior college, in a Division two. Like scouting is the landscape is so big now that if you can play, and you're going to have to play, and perform, there's a small handful of players that are so talented that they don't necessarily have to perform. But 95% of them are going to have to perform. And if you perform in the Power Five, you perform in junior college, It doesn't matter as long as you're a performer, and you're going to get your opportunity. And the draft is interesting because guys are chasing that money, and we're trying to convince guys like, hey man, it's about getting a big league contract. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
about getting that first contract. It's about being good enough to be a big leaguer and stay in the big leagues. That's how you make your money. So chasing 500 grand out of the draft, sure, that's awesome and good for you. But in 5 years, you're going to look back at that and go, "Where's that money? It's gone." And we're ready for professional baseball. And if you are, then do it. I'm as
Yeah.
pro professional baseball as anybody, but you got to be ready because it's hard.
Mhm.
It's not fun. There's a lot. There's more sad stories than there are great stories out of professional baseball. Less than 1%. I think I saw 23,000 big leaguers ever,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know when it started, 18 something, and it couldn't even fill the Mariners Stadium with the guys that have played in the major league. So that's a tough hill to climb sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely well over 90% of guys who are drafted
Yeah,
aren't going to make it.
yeah, and this
So,
is college baseball has changed. You can have an incredible experience here. I mean, you can have
yep.
as close to a double-A experience as anywhere. So it's a great avenue to not only get some school done, but learn and get yourself ready to compete at the highest level.
Yeah, I love it. I got one more question, but Tyler, I'll turn it over to you just in case you have a few more.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. You mentioned Jay Johnson earlier, working with him.
Mm-hmm.
I've met Jay. It's really loved talking to him. But I kind of want to hear some of the stories that you got on Jay because I've definitely heard some interesting stuff. And obviously, players love him, coaches love him. So I just kind of wanted to hear your experience on working with Jay for a year with LSU and kind of just talking about some of the guys you saw there.
Yeah, he is somebody that I had a relationship with for quite some time. We'd talked. I'm not going to say once a week, but twice a month, just on common opponents and a lot of other things, and on the recruiting trail, and so I had known him, but you don't know somebody until you're locked in an office with somebody for a couple of months, and there's some great stories, and there's some funny stories, but the thing that comes to my head when you ask that question is what everybody knows, but people don't quite get it is how hard of a worker he is. Like he's
Yeah.
just on all the time, and he says it. He goes, I'm 24 hours a day focused on LSU baseball, and when that's something you hear in an interview, and you're like, yeah, sure, dude, I get it. Like we all are. Yeah, great. But I saw firsthand that is no joke. I mean, that's his entire focus. And he's married, and his wife Maureen is an incredible person, but that's her focus too. Like that's what's funny about it is it's not him being separated from people. It's those two doing it together. And it's an incredible thing. He's an incredible worker. What people don't know about him, and you wouldn't know, is how much the players love him. And I know you see some of that, but he kind of comes off as somebody that's so focused on winning that maybe he would be a little bit kind of disassociated from the player, and that is not the case at all. I mean, the guy is involved in their lives. He's constantly in contact with them. It's not just baseball. He's an incredible person to them, and that was something that I just didn't know. And watching how much they loved to play for him was something that was not unexpected, but something that you just don't know. And he's just such a good person to those kids, and also a great coach. I mean, he prepares his team offensively better than anybody I've ever been around, and is committed to helping those guys get better. So that experience was great, and then just LSU in general for me was awesome. I mean, to go to a place where and we joked about it a lot because they had went through maybe just a little bit of a lull that football year. Coach Ogeron got let go, and it was in a little bit of and it was baseball school, which was kind of funny because that's not how college athletic works. But to be at a place where that was even almost tolerated, it was like, holy cow, these people do believe this. Just to work with that administration there that they are prepared to give you everything you need to have success. There's no hurdles. And then the type of player that you can get there. I didn't realize just what kind of pull the SEC, those schools, how kids have grown up since the day they were born, wanting to wear that purple and gold up there is something that I didn't quite understand, and why a kid like Dylan Cruz would turn down millions of dollars for this experience. And that was something that was not shocking, but to see it in person was great. And those kids were great. They took us in. That's one thing, not to go on too long, but the biggest thing from that place, and now me being at multiple places, was the alumni there.
Mm.
Those guys were
Yeah.
incredible to us, incredible to me. If you're good enough for us, if you're good enough to be hired here, then you're good enough for us. We want to help you. We want to support you. There was never Skip's guys versus Paul's guys versus Smoke's guys. There was none of that, man. They were all Tigers. They were all in. They were all supporting us. Like that group of alumni, and I think every class for so many years had won a title. So they weren't not overly concerned about that, but they knew that those things were going to happen, and they were supportive of it. So the alumni were incredible, the nicest people, supportive. Even when things didn't go your way, they knew that you were doing a good job. They saw through some of the smoke that maybe the fans didn't see through. So it was an incredible experience. I loved every moment of it.
Yeah, I love it, and I love getting the insights from you. And you can really tell that you've taken it into your coaching philosophy, right? Putting that human being first. The players that play for you, they're human beings before they're baseball
Mm-hmm.
players, and it's kind of awesome to see that. Coach, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us on the clock. We're really excited to have you on, and we're wishing you nothing but the best in the upcoming season, and we'll definitely be watching.
Awesome. I appreciate your guys' time and your coverage and continue to support college baseball and look forward to hopefully talking to you guys again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Awesome. All right, guys, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.